But if you're going to let him set this tone before the season even starts and you do nothing as a league about it, you're not going to be able to control what happens next.
The Ringer NBA show presented by Heineken. On Sunday, James Harden gave us a lot of fodder to go through. My man's does not care about training camp right now. He does not care about the time where you're supposed to report. This man, instead of going to the start of Houston Rockets training camp, my man's went to the ice ball for Lil Baby and spent $300,000 on his friend. While the Rockets are getting ready, they have traded Russell Westbrook. They have gotten John Wall. They are in the midst of training camp. All that is happening while James Harden is going to Atlanta. Then Raja, he goes to Vegas, and he's at strip clubs in Vegas, and he's at Dre's in Vegas. And the Rockets don't know when he's coming in. He says, no, I'm going to come in on Sunday. I'm going to come in for the night workout. Don't even trip. I'm there. Don't even worry about it. Still don't show up for the Sunday night workout. Meanwhile, every place that he's going to does not have a mask. There's no mask anywhere in sight. There's videos proof to show all of this. There's no mask within sight, right? Right as we're in the middle of a pandemic. Raja, I am flabbergasted. How do you feel about this right now?
There's so much to unpack. Like my first initial thought is I feel awful for Steven Silas, who was brought into this situation. Traded Russell Westbrook away.
New head coach of the Rockets, Steven Silas.
Yeah, Steven Silas. And so I feel terrible for him because you have no real relationship with James Harden. You know, he's an MVP candidate every year. Everything the Rockets have done has been based around his skill set. And so you prepared for that coming in as a coach. And now you have to be sitting there thinking there's a real good possibility that I'm not going to have James Harden this year. It could completely upset the apple cart in terms of the preparation that my staff and I have done for this upcoming season. So number one, feel real bad for Steven Silas. Number two, clearly James Harden gives no fucks. He does not want to be in Houston. I don't care what his Twitter says or John Wall says as it relates to their conversations. If you want to be somewhere, you're going to respect that process. You'll at least be in town. You're not going to be in Atlanta at the ice ball or in Vegas at the strip club. You may have things to take care of at the house, which is an excused absence or in their immediate area, but you're not going to be traversing the country, going to people's birthday parties and then talking out the other side of your mouth saying, I really want to be part of the Houston Rockets. So, that's a shit show. And then, the third part of what the fuck is going on with this no mask wearing? It happened. What the fuck? What is going down with the no mask? It is scientifically tried and true that it can, at least minimize the potential to spread the fucking virus. And I'm not even talking about James Harden because that's disrespect on a whole nother level. As you're trying to get a season started, you're not going to be in the bubble. You're potentially exposing the club to having to shut down because you bring coronavirus into it. But just generally speaking, out in these streets, what the fuck is wrong with wearing a mask?
Blowing off training camp is one thing, right? Going out where there's no mask use is a completely other thing because you're putting your teammates at risk. You're putting the other teams at risk. How would you feel if we're in the middle of a pandemic? You're this guy's teammate and he's not wearing a mask no matter where he's going. He already blew off training camp, but he's not wearing a mask right now. And he's going to say, oh, I'm just going to go to the night workout. It's all good. Don't even trip. I'll be there.
No, you're not. No, I won't be there. I'm not going to be there if James is going to be there. No, it's completely disrespectful from that standpoint. And while blowing off training camp may be something that people are accustomed to in the NFL, you know what I mean? And maybe other sports. I'm not that familiar with how baseball works. And I've heard of people, you don't see that in the NBA too much. You really don't. And I know these are different circumstances than normal. We're starting, around a different time of year, but you typically don't see dudes missing and just blowing off training camp.
Yo, and you see these videos of James. It's not like he's trying to duck and hide. There's on Lil Baby's Instagram, it's literally him smiling as Lil Baby is on top of all this ice and honey buns. It's just him, just yeah. Yeah, go, little baby. Like, and then he flies across the country because like Atlanta's not too far from Houston. Nah, man,
Right.
he flies all the way to Vegas and like, yo, I'm about to just go to the strip club and chill out. You know what I mean? And that's not a good look for the league either.
It's not the league. Look, the league. Once you get to your home city, like you're supposed to some degree, like shut things down for like 4 days or something like that, where you're really not doing anything outside of your workouts or what's going on with your club, and essential like grocery store runs or something like that. You're supposed to be laying low, and preparing so that you can have these negative tests so that we can get into training camp. Everything that he's doing flies in the face of not just the Houston Rockets training camp, but just general safety as the league has outlined it. You know what I'm saying?
Well, what do you do, right? If you're front office, do you fine the guy? Do you what are we like? I don't know, because James Harden is also the face of your franchise, right? Because let's be frank, if anybody else was doing this, they'd be off the team or they would be reprimanded yesterday. You know what I mean? But he's James Harden. He's the face of the franchise. Do you want to send a message? But he's already requested a trade. What are you doing as a front office member? Are you just, I'm gonna just take this for the team? Like what's going on?
I mean, I would imagine that early in the process, even if it was disrespectful and it's making you look bad and probably weak as a front office, you would take some of it in hopes that you guys could get on the same page. He just needs to blow off a little steam and act, a certain way for a minute, and then he'll come back to the reservation. We can figure it out in one way or another that we protect our asset. Even if it winds up moving, he doesn't devalue himself, and then we can figure it out. There does come a point though, Logan, where that ship has sailed, and I wonder, like, at what point that is for the Houston Rockets front office. I don't have the answer to that. At some point, you've disrespected us enough where, like, all right, bro, like, we're going to do what we got to do.
I'm just saying this from the optics. I'm not Kelly Eco of The Athletic. I'm not Jonathan Fagan of the Houston Chronicle. I'm meaning to say I'm not tapped in like that. But from the outside looking in, it looks like after that trade request went and the Rockets said, nah, bro, you're going to sit tight and you're going to be here for a second. He was like, well, James Harden was like, well, fuck it. I'm just going wild. Like, you can't control me. You going to trade me or not, or I'm going to go to these clubs.
Right. Well, listen, I told a story, about an experience I had in Utah, right? And, in retrospect, like, I should have asked for the trade like he did. And if I had and they hadn't facilitated it, I mean, what the fuck? I don't want to be here, and if that's what he does. But there's a way to go about that business, man. Like you can not be there and holding out and proving your point, Logan, without even if I said in a couple breaths ago that that's not normal for the NBA, you could do it. You just don't have to be out there making it as public and as big of a health risk as you appear to be making it. You know what I mean? Like the optics of it just aren't great.
Nah, not at all. And it all comes back to COVID too, man. Like they're about to start preseason on Friday. The NBA is about to open back up. I don't know how
he can't be a part of that. He can't be a part of that shit. Like he's got to clear. Like
even if he's fine, right? Even if he's fine and doesn't have COVID, the optics of it, the NBA has to shut him down. They have to shut him down for at least a week.
He has to be shut down.
There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. Just from an optics standpoint and the goodwill that the NBA has gained over the last summer with how they handled COVID, he has to sit down. He has to. You have to and you have to nip that. Look, you're sending guys home now to be on the honor system, so to speak, with this season, right? Nobody wants to be in the bubble. Like there was some real mental health issues along with other things that started to pop up in that bubble. It's unrealistic. We get it. But if you're going to let him set this tone before the season even starts and you do nothing as a league about it, you're not going to be able to control what happens next. There are too many dudes. There are too many different places in their life. Like it's going to be a shit show.